Here's a bit about Patroclus, the Iliad, and the number 3. To start with then, it begins when Patroclus falls on the battlefield. And the Trojans want to take control of the body because they want the spoils of war, they want his armour, and that's part of the whole heroic code. The Greeks obviously want to return the body back to Achilles. And the two contest it, and they do so 3 times. The Trojans pushing 3 times, and the Greeks resisting 3 times. Then we have the involvement of Achilles, and this is actually notable for a separate part, which I'll get to in a moment. Achilles can't participate in the battle, he doesn't have his armour, so he stands and releases a battle cry, a sort of shout, that rings across the battlefield, and he does this 3 times, and it causes the Trojans to panic and retreat from the body so it can be secured by the Greeks. Now what's particularly worth noting here is this actually links to the opening of the poem, because the whole poem's about the wrath of Achilles, and that's his rage. I think the word used is menace, and that's the type of rage that only a demigod or god could have. And here it manifests in that scream, in that shout across the battlefield. That's the first instance of what will become if you've read the poem, you'll know what I mean. It's just a lot of people falling on the battlefield at the hands of Achilles. Now, one of those is famously Hector, and he actually is involved in number 3 as well, because when Achilles pursues him, he chases him around the city of Troy 3 times. The final 2 instances I'm going to mention relate directly or more directly to Patroclus, because it involves what they do in sort of observance of his corpse, observance of his body, spirit, whatever you want to call it. So you have the Myrmidons, who are the people that Achilles is in charge of. They go round his corpse, which is on a bier at that time, 3 times. And then when Achilles has the body of Hector, he drags it around the tomb of Patroclus in a sort of observance, again, 3 times. The question you might be asking is, why 3? Well, I've read a couple of interesting arguments about this. One is largely to do with how the cadence of the poem works. Remember, this was a poem, it was sung, it was performed, and it needed to keep to a particular beat. And the number 3 in ancient Greek apparently works really well if you're doing that. The second, I think, is a bit more overarching. And that's to say that 3, if you think about it, is the smallest number of times you can do something where it's not accidental, it's on purpose. I know that sounds a bit odd, but just think about it for a moment. If you do something twice, it might not be fully realised or appreciated that had a particular purpose behind it. But if you do something 3 times, it's pretty obvious that you were doing it on purpose. And that's the whole thing about this, is the intent of those 3 times that each of these instances occur. Anyway, be interested to see what you think. So again, if you want to leave comments or ask questions, stick them in the comment section, or just click follow, or do all 3.